So the matchup between the Springboks and Ireland has just come to a close, and as you can see beside me, the end score separated by just the 1 point. This one was a back and forth game. Ireland were ahead at half-time. The Springboks in the next 20 or so minutes in that second half really firing back into it. And then in the end, a last-minute drop kick was what got Ireland over the line in this game. But in this review, we'll be looking through at the stats to do with this contest, the key performers for both of the teams, and then also what is next for these two sides in their upcoming matches. But first of all, Ireland came out of the gates firing in this matchup. Last week, it was the Springboks who started the match extremely well, whereas this week it was Ireland. They were able to get themselves the early 3 points, then the try of Conor Murray, and little did we know that would be the only try throughout this whole 80 minutes. The rest of the points all coming from either penalties or drop kicks, which just showed, for one, that the defences were relatively strong, but also there were a lot of mistakes on attack from both of these sides that did stop possibilities of tries being scored. But South Africa, at the start of that second half, like I said, they came out firing. They looked a lot more determined. In that first half, there was 65% possession in favour of the Irish. In the second half, it ended with 60% in favour of the Springboks. And of course, anytime Pollard had the opportunity to line up a shot at the post, he was able to get it over, kicking 8 from 8 throughout this contest. So he couldn't have done any more in terms of the kicking tee. The big question that a lot of people would have is, could him and Faf de Klerk have done more when it came to that attack of the Springboks? There were times where their backline seemed a little lost. Ireland from the get-go wanted to be the more physical side. We could see that as soon as they made their way onto the park. Willie le Roux, unfortunately, was knocked out within the first couple minutes of the game, went for the tackle on James Lowe, did catch a knee, and did have to go from the field, although that gave us a bit more time to experience Sasha Feinberg Zulu out there on the field for the Springboks, and he is certainly one for the future. He had some fantastic kicks, sensational runs, but in the end, just wasn't quite enough for the Boks. We also saw Franco Mostert. He ended up with a cut on his forehead. He had to make his way from the field for the blood bin. Adi Snyman made his way on. Then Mostert came back out. Etzebeth ended up with a cut. So Adi Snyman went back on. Then he went off because Etzebeth went back on. Then Mostert got a knee injury. Adi Snyman went back on. That man was going on and off that many times. I think they were losing track of whether or not he needed his bib on or not. But in the end, he had a pretty solid performance for someone who had to have such a start-stop kind of game. I thought overall he did look solid enough for that locking duo. Had some good runs, couple sneaky offloads, as he always has, R.G. Snyman. But the top performer for the Springboks throughout this game, the award for man of the match did go to Ox Neshe. He had some brilliant work in the scrums. I did notice as soon as Tyke Furlong made his way from the field for the Irish, that is when the scrums got a lot more shaky for them, and that is when Ox started asserting some dominance over Finlay Beerland. But looking through at some of the stats for this contest, in terms of the metres made, at halftime, the Irish had a 200-metre advantage over the Springboks, but at the end of the contest, Springboks had a 40-metre advantage over the Irish. They also beat more defenders in this game. These South Africans, 21 compared to the 15 of the Irish, and I believe Ireland had about 12 or 13 of those defenders beaten in the first half of the game. Clean breaks was 8 for the Irish compared to the 3 that we saw of these South Africans. In terms of the tackling stats, we did see in the end an 82% tackle completion rate for Ireland, 88% for South Africa, which all of those stats that I just listed were completely the opposite at halftime. So whatever Rassie Erasmus said to his side during that halftime break, it fired them up, it put them in the right headspace to go out there and try and win this game. And for a majority of that second half, it did seem like they were going to be able to do so, but just missing out in the end. Ireland getting a drop kick from Kieran Frawley about 42 metres out, similar position as he actually got his previous drop kick a little bit earlier on in the game. But sadly, the series has now come to an end. 2 test matches played, 1 apiece. Why is it not a 3-match series? I know that South Africa are playing Portugal, and of course that is great for Portugal. That is great for a Tier 2 side getting to go head-to-head with the Springboks, the defending world champions. But surely we could have had one more between these two teams because this leaves so much unanswered. People were wanting to see a winner in this series. South Africa won the first game. Ireland won the second. If you really want to be technical, you could say the points differential. South Africa as the aggregate, we're a little bit higher. But then at the same time, that is not how this series is judged. It's just judged 1-1 in a drawn series between these two teams. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in to this very short review. We'll have, of course, plenty more information about this game in the near future on the channel. A little bit more of a breakdown of it as well coming soon. But thank you all very much for tuning in. Do let me know what you thought of this game in the comments down below, as well as who you would have given man of the match to. I think a lot of people would have gone with Oxnashare. Do let me know if there was someone else, maybe for the Irish, that you would have given it to. I think that I'd probably say Jack Crowley was my best player on the field for Ireland. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you are new, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we will see you all for the next one.